I didn't make you a Skitters wall. I
no!
forgot it. Oh my god. I'm such a bad host.
No, listen, it's okay. I am now Kira.
Hi, Kira. We love you. Bye. Oh, it looks so sad and empty.
Listen, it's okay. It's okay. We have to use our imaginations.
Oh.
To be honest, okay. I don't even know that I have enough art yet
Sometimes
to fill the wall.
I'll just take silly screenshots and stuff. It's fun. And then people are like, oh my god, I can't believe you put that up there. Well, welcome, Skitters, to Tea and Tarot, a podcast for candid conversations sparked by tarot and steeped in tea. How are you today?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm very good. Do you have an idea of what you might want for a tarot reading today?
I was thinking a fun one might be to look at the future or what's coming.
Okay, awesome. Let me just... I forgot that I was doing tarot readings today. That's nearly half the point of the podcast, at least. So I'm taking my cards out now. Thank God I keep them at my desk.
Well, I was watching one of your other podcasts. You have them all linked to your stream deck. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
That's so impressive.
Every card. So I took a picture of every card, trimmed every picture down, and if one of them was like a little dark, I enhanced the brightness on them to try and have them kind of all equally visible. Saved all of those PNGs, put them all into VTube Studio, and I made sure they were all named properly so I could find them.
Wow.
And then every single one of them is like an item toggle. So I think they're all technically single item sets, so they're toggleable.
Oh my goodness.
I made all of the toggles, and then after all of the toggles exist, you can make all of the buttons on the stream deck.
That's super impressive. That's so much work.
It was a lot of work, and so much so that I streamed some of it because it was consuming my life at the time. I was like, I can't do anything else. Help me be productive, guys.
Well, I mean, that must be hard to want to keep up with after a while.
And it somewhat stinks because it only works on this model. I'm glad that it's the model that is like considered my main, and I didn't invest in doing that on a different model, but
yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine you'd have to do it all again.
Yeah. And I think there's a way that I can import them kind of, because they are just item sets and they're not like pinned to my model. But I forget how I do that. Because I think I did transfer it over from my old design to this one. It's just, why bother importing it on every model when I'm probably not going to use it on every model?
No, I know that trying to move things in VTube Studio is kind of a pain in the butt. When I swapped to my new computer, I had to go through my old computer and grab all the file folders and then pray to whatever god or gods there are and hope that all of my files transferred. I was so scared.
Yeah. After Minna had the big blow up on their computer, I had like nightmares that it was going to happen to my computer, so I backed everything up because otherwise I was losing sleep over it.
Oh, I don't blame you at all.
And swords. Last one. Here we go. We have the 9 of Wands, the 7 of Cups, and the 3 of Swords for you.
Ooh.
And this is just like a general future. So I see you kind of climbing this creative ladder of yours. You've taken good steps, and you're making good progress. There's still like a lot of progress ahead of you, and it might feel like you're just at the beginning because you have so many more steps ahead of you. But it's definitely good to be able to look behind you every once in a while and see all the steps that you've already taken. And it's important to be able to acknowledge that. Because with the Seven of Cups, um, either like you're being your own worst enemy, or there is like somebody in your inner group that is almost sabotaging your confidence in this. I'm not sure if it's yourself or another person, but the cups are significant of the relationships of those around you typically. But you can always be a contributor towards things like that. Where I think there's a little bit of a skewed sense of perception of how things are going on around you. And the Three of Swords just kind of shows this tangled mess in your mind where now's not really a great time to be making decisions. You definitely have one to be made, but there is some thinking through that needs to be done and some sorting of your thoughts in order to be able to carefully make that decision that you have ahead of you. Um, I don't know if you want me to dive deeper on any of that. If you have any follow-up questions, I can always pull more cards.
Yeah, I think this is super interesting. The last one specifically that you were talking about is really interesting to me.
Okay. Like you want an elaboration on what that decision might be, or
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. We have the Three of Coins. There he is. Um, let me- The task ahead is a monstrous one, usually related to your job or career. The Three of Pentacles suggests that you must focus all of your efforts. Discipline, strategy, and hard work are needed more than ever. If you become weary or overwhelmed, rely on those around you. This card of team is of teamwork, so you may need the strength of others to conquer this mountain. So, could be related to your job or career or making changes in that. But very big.
This is why I've always loved tarot and believed heavily in the readings of tarot cards. So that one's always interesting to me, especially like with stuff going on with you. But for me, at the end of this year, or I guess technically like next June, I had been thinking about being done completely with teaching, interestingly enough, and finding something entirely different.
Oh wow, that's so funny. Because I prepared some questions today to ask you questions about teaching, and then I'm
Yeah,
also in this very transitional period of my career right now.
that's so funny
So
that you pulled that card with the two of us.
I think we're gonna have a lot to talk about.
I think so
Um,
too.
ah, yeah, literally half of my questions, more than half of my questions were about your teaching stuff, I think. That's
There's
so
nothing wrong with
funny.
that. I love talking about teaching.
I guess I'll start off with an easy thing. Was there something that inspired you to be a teacher?
Oh, that's a good one. So, funny enough, when I was younger, like way younger, like first, second, third grade, I actually really wanted to be an interior designer before before anything else.
That's so funny.
Um, yeah, it was super funny. And I ended up deciding against that when I got to fourth grade, and I met the teacher that inspired me to become a teacher. She was my absolute favorite.
Oh.
Which,
That's so
that's pretty
sweet.
typical. Yeah, it's I mean, she was a sweetheart.
Was there something about the way that she taught that made you want to teach?
She was always very compassionate with students, and she was the first teacher I had that was really like that, but she was also young. Like, I
Hmm.
don't know, she had to have been like fresh out of college young.
Yeah, I've definitely had some teachers like that, and it can be such a breath of fresh air when you're used to dealing with really seasoned, like senior teachers who are like stuck in their ways.
Yeah, exactly. And she wasn't really like that at all. And I think that does really play into, like that's why I started teaching straight out of college, is I wanted to be that kind of teacher that didn't really
Oh,
follow the status quo.
that's so good. I love that. Do you have a favorite thing about teaching?
Oh, I think that my favorite part of teaching, this is going to sound a little silly because I complain about this all the time as well. It's simultaneously my favorite and my least favorite. I love the students, and I always say that, every year is going to fluctuate with how your kiddos are, but I always feel like I end up connecting with them pretty well over the 4 years that I've taught. And they're any range of personalities.
Yeah, I can totally see that being a double-edged sword where you can have some really great students and some really awful ones.
Oh, 100%.
You're about to start the teaching year, yeah? So you've kind of
I
been in your
am.
crunch time.
Yeah, the past 2 weeks I've spent setting up my classroom. I've been in there almost daily, probably say like 3 or 4 days a week. Um, and then we start back. I'm like looking at the calendar. We start back a week from this Monday. So,
Oh
no,
God.
the 26th, I think I have training that day, training the 27th, and then the kiddos actually come back on the 28th.
Oh, so you're not even waiting until after Labor Day.
Nope. And it's
Wow.
so early this year, too.
Right. I feel like snow days have been less frequent, at least around here. I'm not sure how they've been for you guys, because I know you're quite a bit more north from
Yeah.
me, and like sometimes I will have like the most beautiful sunshiny day, and I'll like talk to my grandfather who's kind of equally north but in New Hampshire, and
Yeah.
I'll be like, "Oh, it was such a great day today, wasn't it?" And he's like, "I had a blizzard." Like, oh, it's
No, Maine
crazy
always gets
how
crap
like only a
done.
handful of miles will change the weather so much.
Yeah. Well, I remember when I attended the Queen City Con, that like little one.
I
We
missed that
drove from
one.
Maine. I miss that one so much. But we drove from Maine and, of course, up by me, there was still snow on the ground, and we got into like New Hampshire area, and I was like, wow, it feels like spring here.
Yes, that's how I felt growing up visiting Boston for Anime Boston and stuff like that. I'm like, literally, the grass is greener over here and I want to move here now. So, the first chance I had to get out of my parents' house, I knew I wanted to come to Massachusetts.
Oh, I don't blame you one bit. No,
Um, no, you
schedules
go.
with teaching can be funny, especially with snow days.
Yeah. I saw the incentivization to like start early knowing that we were going to have a bunch of snow days, but I feel like that is starting to kind of be less and less, unfortunately. So there's like less a need, but the schools are still opening earlier and earlier.
It does feel like that, and this is funny. So I call this teacher math because I think it's the silliest thing. Um, and actually, it's really not even teachers. We don't get to decide the schedule, but it's really kind of like administration math, I guess.
Yes.
But they start us this early, and then with our district right now, they're building a new super school. So the way that they've done our schedule this year is basically, at least in the state of Maine, if you have a half day marked on your calendar and so you go the half day, right? It counts as a full day because you serve lunch. But if you
Yeah.
have the half day marked and then you go the full day, they count it as 2 school days.
That's so weird.
Isn't that weird?
This is really weird. 'Cause I guess I've never had a half day that turned into a full day. So
Usually
it's
they
just
don't.
weird that they would have that as like a prepared sort of concept.
Yeah, well, they did it this year to kind of help us get out of school early, but it's still weird to me. Like, we'll be done almost 2 weeks earlier than we ever have been done because of that.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah,
I
I
feel
think it'll
like that's a
be really
system that
interesting.
could be abused.
Yeah, well, right? That's what I thought too, is how did they even get away with that? But I think that they probably got away with it under the condition that we have to be out because of the new school being built.
Right. I guess that does make a little bit of an exception for you guys, so you can try and
Right.
like cram in harder learning days, but also get rewarded for it so
Yeah,
you can get out on
exactly.
time.
Right, because otherwise, like, I think they start the new building project that day. Like, they've already technically started, they've laid, like, the foundation and stuff, but they can't actually put walls or rooms or anything up until they tear down the school that's right there. So they have to let us out first.
That's so weird.
Isn't that crazy?
I'm trying to like wrap my brain around why they would care.
Right, well, exactly.
I guess it probably has to deal with like tax dollars and almost double dipping. But you
Yeah,
would think it wouldn't make that much of a difference because they're already spending the money to put the walls up. What's the difference if they put it up during the school year or after the school year?
that's what I thought too, and I didn't know if maybe it was like a safety thing, but then I'm like, but the new
Mm,
school is behind the one that's currently there, like by quite a bit, so I can't imagine that that's the reason.
it could be for like some, well, I guess if they have to use some like real heavy demolition because Minna's old high school had to get demolished and rebuilt. And Minna's parents live extremely close to the high school. Like Minna was in walking distance of the high school, like laughably so. And they could feel all of the tremors from all of the demolition in their house, and it caused problems with the pipes on numerous
Wow.
occasions. So I wonder if they're accounting for just how serious they're going to need to demo the current school. So if
Yeah.
they have to put up the other one, they don't want any damages on the new building.
Right. Well, and if they have to bring in like a crane and stuff like that, that's all liability if you've got kids there.
Mhm.
And they will have to demo some stuff at least. Like I think they need to dig in the ground at least a little bit because they're putting a brand new playground as well.
Oh wow.
But it's going to be a huge school. I mean, they're combining all of the in-town schools, which I think there's three or two in town and two or three outside of the town, technically. And those will all be in one school, pretty much.
So it'll be a bit of a regional school instead of just a strictly one town school.
Right. So most of our school districts up here where I am in Maine are all kind of like that because there's just not enough kids if you don't do it that way. But if you go like even just a little bit south, they stop being like that because you start getting more people. And I don't know if that's really the reason, but that's my assumption because otherwise it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to have that many places in one building.
Yeah, I actually grew up with a regional high school, but all of our elementary schools were separate. So I found that really interesting that they were able to combine us all at the high school level, but not any earlier than that. I don't know where the
Right.
methodology came there, but I'm very familiar with being in a large district where a lot of
Oh,
us
yeah.
came together.
Yeah, ours was like that too. Funny enough, growing up, I was in a different elementary from everybody else, but like we had three elementaries, and on top of that, we had three elementaries and a primary school, and then we would all go. up into the junior high and high school, and the junior high and high school were all one building.
Hmm.
So that was always interesting.
Very interesting. But going back to prepping for this year, do you have any exciting decorations you've been working on? I seem to
Ooh.
remember in previous years that you've gotten pretty invested in decorating your room.
Oh yeah, that's like one of my favorite things about starting the school year. Starting the school year is always exciting, I think, but the decorating part is always my favorite. And we've really gotten into it this year. I ended up doing a lot of new organization things for the students, but for me and my personal tastes, I ended up swapping a lot of my decorations out for this sounds funny, more like gothic style stuff. So like we have bats and we have purple LEDs and like our light covers for my kids that have light sensitivities. Those are all like dark woodsy galaxy style themed. Um, but that's what I've been kind of aiming for.
That's so good. I love that. That'll be fun.
I think it'll be super fun. It's nice to have a matching theme for once too. I've always just kind of like mixed my theme with whatever was already there, but this year I had a chance to really like wipe out my room and start from scratch basically.
Right. And I know on the stream where I was like, hey, wait, actually, I want to pick Skitter's brain and get them on the podcast. You were talking about how you had to place like orders through the school to get some of your stuff.
Oh yeah,
That
so pretty much everything we do is through like anything that I buy. Given this district is really good about giving us teachers a pretty sizable budget for spending. Like I think I get $1,000 every school year.
Oh
And that's
wow,
a
that's
big
pretty
budget.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we get to choose where it goes. So like I split it up between like I use Amazon, I do a little bit towards Walmart, and then I use like Teachers Pay Teachers for all of my paperwork stuff.
That's awesome. Do you have all your stuff in yet?
The Amazon stuff should be here before the end of this week. That's what our secretary told me. So I'm hoping, but I have everything else. Like the stuff I got from Walmart is all set up and organized, but the stuff from Amazon, I'm like crossing my fingers that it's here because it's the rest of my decorations.
Yeah, 'cause you have like a week now.
Yeah. We're getting so close.
Yeah, for real. Oh my God, that must be so stressful.
A little bit, yeah. I feel less stressed than I did last year, but I have a much better group this year. I loved my kids last year. They were a pain in my behind all year. Like last year, funny enough, was the group that almost made me quit halfway through the year, and then
Oh
I
no.
decided, nope, we're gonna stick it out, and I don't care how much I cry, we're just gonna do it.
Oh, were they being like mean to you, or was it just hard to get the curriculum done, or?
I had a group of very behaviorally challenged kids, and unfortunately, I had last year, without like getting into too much details about them, I had one kid that brought a knife to school, and then I had another kid that was not in control of his bowel movements, and so I
Oh,
had a carpeted room, so that was an issue.
yeah,
Those were the two big ones. The rest of them, like, shouting out and typical like elementary behaviors, but those two big ones really like destroyed the whole vibe that the class had.
are you teaching grade school kids?
I'm teaching 4th grade.
Okay. That definitely makes a bit of sense, adds a little bit of context.
Yes, yes.
But that's hard because it's not like necessarily their fault. So you just kind of have to roll with the punches, but
Right.
you have to try and correct the behavior where you can, but there's only so much you can do.
Exactly. And teachers really end up becoming, a second set of parents to these kids, and sometimes we become the only parents to these kids because
Right,
they just don't have somebody to say, that's not okay. Your behavior is not okay.
right. My heart like bleeds for you in like the most beautiful and thankful way possible. You are doing God's work.
Yeah, I love teaching, but I love the act of teaching. I don't always love the way that the system works, and unfortunately, the teaching system in the US is just so broken right now, and
Yeah.
I can't fix it from the inside. The only way I could do anything about it is potentially by getting like a state job, but even then, you run the risk of not being able to actually say anything about it.
Yeah. Do you deal with a grade that has to do standardized tests?
Yes, and it's much different probably than when you and I were in school. I know for me, I remember like the pencil paper, you filled in the bubbles, like you had this little test book and you filled in the bubbles.
Yes. And so much to the point where we had like practice tests where one of my teachers
Yeah.
had a scanner so we could practice doing our bubbles really good so they would actually be able to read our
Right.
actual tests.
And count the answers. Yeah, that was a big thing when we were in grade school.
Yes.
Theirs is all like entirely on the computers now, and it's a lot of testing. Like there we do a language arts test and actually we do two language arts tests because I think we do a reading and like a reading comprehension sort of. And then the other one's math, and those are each like 2-hour blocks for testing.
Right.
They just get so worn out. I feel so bad for them. That I mean, and it feels like even more testing than when we were in school. Like I remember long passages for reading tests when we were in school, but some of these kids have like 11 or 12 paragraph passages.
Oh, wow. I feel like I only did passages that long for like a couple of my high school level ones
Right. So
and
it's
like
crazy to give it.
my SATs, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, that must suck.
I know,
To
I
both
feel
be
so
the one
bad.
to teach it and the one to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was a very good test taker. I was kind of naturally gifted at being able to take those standardized tests. So I was kind of like the budget department's wet dream, I guess, because we would my classes were always pretty on top of being able to get us approved funding thanks to standardized tests. We were just good test takers.
That's awesome. And that's always amazing to hear. I love when kids are good test takers, but unfortunately, many of
It's
us
just
are
not that.
not.
Yeah, it's hard. I don't know honestly how my teachers were able to do it to make it consistent enough that we would get fundings approved and stuff like that. I remember this one time we had funds approved, but they were very limited in what they were allowed to spend that funding on. So they ended up putting a bunch of TVs in the hallways to put like general announcements on. So it was just like these rotating slideshows. I think they might have done something special during the morning announcements or something like that, but they just felt very unnecessary. But then I
Yeah.
later learned that they really couldn't spend the money on anything else because they weren't allowed to spend it on like the sports department or
Right.
the arts and stuff like that for extracurriculars to get funded, which is so dumb because I feel like that's half the incentivization is like we don't want to lose the nice things that we have, so we need to take tests better, and we can still have like sports defunded because we weren't allowed to spend money on it.
Yeah, that's crazy to me that and you know, I knew that you could only spend it on certain things, but I didn't realize like how restricted it was in some places. Like I remember when we got COVID funds and those COVID funds ended up being used for like digital learning platforms and stuff like that, but they
Right.
also paid to put new like Apple TVs in every classroom and Promethean boards, which are like interactive whiteboards.
Okay, I dealt with some of those in my later high school and college years.
Yeah.
Um, oh, I had a question and it escaped me.
It'll come back.
Yeah, probably. Oh, I can't force it.
That's okay. I always hate when I consistently lose my train of thought.
Yeah, I've been trying to get better at it. And I think I'm doing a pretty good job. Oh, it was going to be about COVID. Were you a teacher through COVID?
Sort of. So I was still in college, technically,
Mm,
but I did my practicum placements, which is like, it's not your student teaching. Like, your student teaching is the last thing you do, but you do 3 or 4, I think it depends on the school, but I think we did 3 practicum placements. So you get placed with a teacher and you work basically underneath them. Whereas student teaching, you start by working underneath them and then you eventually like take over the class for that
right.
time. But I did my practicum with kindergartners on remote learning for my last
Wow.
practicum. It was crazy.
Yeah. Do you know roughly what grade your kids were in when COVID had us all in lockdown?
Oh, so my last year's kids, I think, were like still true COVID kids. Like, I think they were either kindergarten or first. They should have been, what, so this is 2024? So they would have been, oh, can't do that math. I think that's, yeah, I can't do that math in my head. I think it's first. I think they would have been first grade.
Yeah,
I'm
last
not
year
positive.
probably.
Yeah, and so they
Okay.
didn't get their social skills like at all.
Yeah. But you're starting to get really close to coming up on a generation that didn't have to deal with that.
Yeah, yeah, we're finally getting out of the like what we consider the true COVID kids. My first, second, and third year were all, COVID generations.
Yeah, I've heard so much about that stuff and just how like dreadful it is.
Well, they really didn't get that social development in the way that they should
Yeah.
have.
And it's just a very, very hard developmentally to have kind of been at home somewhere where you were comfortable and maybe you had a couple of teachers that were a little bit more relaxed and you didn't have to have the camera on, you just muted and you could kind of like fuck off and do anything.
Right. Well, that's basically what it was like in college classes for me. Like, I felt like there were no restrictions. I had a college professor that I loved, and she cried when she heard about lockdown, and I felt so bad because she didn't want to do online. And I didn't blame her because the way that she made her connections with us students was in person.
Right. We're
Yeah, it
starting to
was
see
weird.
it a little bit now at work too, because Minna works with what they call co-ops, where there are a couple of schools in the area where they have the opportunity to kind of go out into the real world as part of their curriculum and apply for these jobs and potentially get accepted. And they will work for the company in certain different departments and they get paid for it. They get paid to be
Wow.
there. Um, and this round of kids that she has right now has just been miserable because, like, they're I think juniors and seniors are the ones who are allowed to participate in it. And like some of their spelling skills are just like in the toilet, and
Oh,
their
I
social
bet.
skills are also just like really bad, where they don't understand that like saying the F bomb to each other in a professional environment that you are being paid to be there is not an acceptable behavior. One of them was
And they
caught
don't
sleeping
know.
on the job. Others are trying
Wow.
to be sneaky and like clock in before they're actually there.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just
That's
been
crazy.
really bad. Um, and
I
I think
bet
it's
it
just
sounds it.
because they were in lockdown in some of the more important years for that stuff to learn like what is and isn't okay.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Now, I know it's a little bit of a topic shift, but I'd be curious to hear about what's going on with you for work because I saw that you were starting to talk about it and I'm like, I have to know. I have to put my nose in the business.
No, that's totally fine. Do you want to know like what I'm doing currently and then I can like transition into what I'm going into.
Yeah, because I don't know. I mean, I've heard a little bit of you. I know you talk a little bit about your job on streams, but I'd be interested to know more.
Yeah, and I guess I can be a smidge more free with it now that I'm about to leave because
Right.
like I don't think I could say anything that would paint the company in a bad light. Not that I want to disclose my company by any means or anything like that, but I do sign some almost NDA-like things where it says I won't talk about them on social media and put them in a bad light sort of thing. There is like
Interesting.
an extent where I'm like, I can be truthful on like LinkedIn and Glassdoor and stuff like that, but it's not like blatantly airing out issues with the company on my personal Facebook that might have
Yeah.
influence on their stock market sort of thing. That's
Oh,
what
that
they're worried
okay.
about.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Um, so I am a quality assurance technician, which
Oh.
um, there's a couple of different quality groups in my buildings and stuff like that. So my group is specifically for post-market. We have created and developed AEDs, ventilators, aspirators, um, even the like internal defibrillators where people will have um I can't think of the actual name for it right now. I'm completely blanking on it. But if somebody has a heartbeat that is kind of irregular, they can sometimes
Oh,
have
yeah.
something implanted to make it regular.
Yeah.
And those people like can't go through regular TSA monitors and have to be like hand checked because it could make their heart monitor fail. But so we make some pretty medically important devices and when we handle post-market stuff, that is when the customer already has obtained the thing and now has complaints or needs to retire something, needs a repair. I handle all of the paperwork where the customer said this to the call center and complained about their unit. It got received, and our depot found the issue, confirmed it, and resolved it, and now it's back with the customer. So I take everybody's stories and make it into a comprehensive letter where we say what happened, how we fixed it, how we either like don't think it'll happen again because the customer dropped the device and that's why it happened. It isn't going to be a repeat issue. Or we found the error, but it was because the customer did an incorrect sequencing, or the customer had an old part in their unit and we've already resolved the issue. They just need an updated part. Things like that. And so I tell the customer their half, and my write up also gets sent to the next line in command, our RA center, and they translate it to the FDA so the FDA knows we're doing our due diligence and making sure that these units aren't like a threat to somebody's life. They're not going to fail here and there like all the time while we're trying to save lives.
Right.
And I've been doing that for 4.5 years. A lot of data
Wow.
entry and problem solving and figuring out what depot techs are trying to convey to me because, oh my gosh, the amount of like weird lingo, and we have these two words where we say, oh, we observed the issue or we verified the issue. To most people, those words sound interchangeable.
Yeah.
Observing and verifying are not the same thing to us, though. Observing means we did see it on an occasion, but maybe it resolved and we weren't able to duplicate it again and figure out what was the issue. But verification means along the lines of like, the analog board we think is at fault. We took that analog board out, put a good board in that resolved the issue, took that good board out again, put the old one back in, and it duplicated again. So we know it is that part's fault. That's a verification.
That makes sense.
So a lot of little nitty-gritty things like that to learn and convey, and sometimes the Devo text would just speak really broken because I think they had limited characters to put into this one database, so
Oh
they were
no!
working with the best that they could, but sometimes it was like you needed to open Pandora's box to figure out
Right,
what
to
they were
figure it out.
talking about. So it has been a lot of repetitive, tedious work over the years, and there have been good things and less good things, and I've just kind of always been the weird kid, and that hasn't been something that I think has impeded on my professional career much at all since working in retail and other offices. But I fucking feel it all over again here.
Oh, I
And it's
bet.
been something I've been able to ignore for a long time. But this guy that was hired like 3 days after me, um, he has always rubbed me the wrong way, and he is
Uh,
more or less my supervisor right
oh
now.
no.
And I think he knows that I've never liked him because his humor is just making fun of people. And he
Oh,
has never tried to do that to me, so I think he knows better than to try with me, because I probably would have reported him to HR.
yeah, I don't blame you.
But we have this short king on our team, and he. I wanted to, like, throw rocks for him because
Oh no.
all my supervisor could do was like make short jokes of this guy for like at least like a year straight consistently in meetings and stuff like that, and it's like,
Uh,
we fucking get it, he's short, can we fucking have our meeting now?
right, I'm sorry, can we move on?
Ugh, it's just so exhausting.
It is. Well, and to not have a better sense of humor, like, I'm sorry, you can't come up with a better joke.
Exactly. I just I have not liked dealing with him, and he is definitely a heavy hand in me like feeling the need to go and probably setting up this almost weird work environment where I feel like nobody wants to include me on things.
Yeah, and that's
Um
hard.
yeah. So I'm gonna have a serious talk with HR when I have my exit interview next week. Um, and there was another thing that he did that was more serious on a like work non-work trip, because it wasn't an approved work trip where the company card was paying for us or anything like that,
Right.
but it was a bunch of coworkers going out after work. So it is still an atmosphere where you need to have a level of professionalism because
Right.
we're all coworkers, and he was very much not professional, if you ask me.
Ugh.
And I don't want to divulge into that too much because I don't
Yeah.
want that to be an issue if I don't know. I don't think very many people at work know where I am lingering on the internet for
Well,
good
it's
reason.
yeah, yeah, I'm the same way. It was part of why I actually really liked VTubing because you can go by something entirely different and really the only recognizable part of you if you don't post like, I post pictures and stuff too, but if you don't post a ton of that, there's not really a good way to figure out who that is.
Yeah. And I think I have a whole two people on my team that know that I stream, but haven't asked for my link, so I don't think they really know where I am.
Right.
But so the chances are low that somebody would get into this stream and want to say
Yeah.
something about it, but
It's still a
the odds are
concern.
never zero, so I
No.
shouldn't go into it more. So it's an issue that I'm going to raise with management. So
Right. Well, if it's
don't want
being
to,
handled, that's good.
yeah. But now I I really had a fire lit under my ass where I was like, I need to leave now. I am miserable. I am crying way too often at work and I need to leave. So I was interviewing like crazy and submitting my application everywhere. And I stumbled on this Instagram post for a nail salon that I've been to, and they were
Ooh.
looking to sponsor someone to go to school and work in their shop. So I had the opportunity to have that interview for the sponsorship. Excuse me. And I got to know more of the details where what school I would be expected to go to, what the hours look like, what I would be expected to do after coming out of school, how long the contractual obligation would be, and they wanted me for 2 years afterwards,
Wow.
which is like flattering and great job security, but it's all the way out in Western Mass and would be an hour
Ooh.
commute one way.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
without moving. Yeah.
it was going to be 100 miles on my car each way, even for
Oh.
just school. Or not each way,
Yeah.
round trip, 100 miles. So that was going to just add up on my car like crazy.
Right, and quickly.
Yeah. So I told her I had a lot to think about. I talked with my parents and I was like weighing the pros and cons with them. And my stepmom reminded me and she was like, well, we do have that school account for you where we have money in the bank for you to go to school. And I was like, oh, right, that's a thing. She had only mentioned it to me like a week before, but I didn't know the account had existed
Oh,
until
wow.
then. Because I dropped out of college probably around the time that she made it, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's creeping up on being 10 years old where she could convert the account to being a Roth IRA. Um, And so I was like, oh, so I can actually go to school on my own terms and then figure things out. And that would kind of be the best of both worlds. And so I get back to the manager of this salon and I go, okay, if the stars align and you still have an empty seat in your salon and I get out of school, would you still be willing to teach me and have me in your salon? And she was like, I would definitely have to like reevaluate things at that time, but I would be really interested in exploring that with you if you went to school on your own. And I was like, fuck yeah.
That's
And just started
awesome.
putting everything together. And over the weekend, last week was the worst week of my life. I got micromanaged completely out of the blue and was just like being
Oh.
pulled into meetings all the time about my performance, and it was just like not making sense to me because my numbers were getting better, so I don't know why I had to be reprimanded, but
That's so dumb. I feel that pain. I feel that one from last year.
I'll be completely fair. They did find me, or someone found me. Someone was a narc. When I had accidentally fallen asleep at my desk. Um,
Oops.
I'm on a new medication that creates a bit of drowsiness, and that was one of my side effects. And I tried explaining that to them and told them that on no occasion have I dozed off for more than 10 minutes. Like, I'm still here and it's making me perform better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because it was for anxiety. I was having a lot of
Right.
anxiety dealing with like the worry of my work not being good enough and people
Yeah.
having to kick back work to me and telling me to fix things, which was
Understandably.
almost nonsensical because I was doing good work. I was just too scared to submit it because I didn't want somebody to find something wrong with it.
Right.
So I was finally having the guts to submit my stuff because I'm on anxiety medication, but I doze off for like 10 minutes, somebody catches me and narcs on me, and
Of
it's like,
course.
ugh, you gotta be kidding me.
Right, well, and especially because you're not maliciously doing it. Like, there could have been any number of reasons that happened. Like, what if it had been like a true medical emergency mean, not to say that that's not, a medical issue, but I mean, for somebody to just like, especially an adult, to basically tattle, like, I'm sorry.
It was just so weird that somebody didn't talk to me to be like, "Hey, are you okay? Like, what's going on? Why are
Yeah,
you
and
falling
just went and
asleep?"
complained.
Yeah, no, it was weird. I
That is
just wish
weird.
somebody had said something to me first.
Right. Well, we're
Ugh.
all adults. That should be the initial course of action, I would think.
Yeah, but I get also having the difficulty of maybe not feeling familiar enough with me to be able to just like come up to me and ask, and then wanting to tell somebody that you think would be concerned and be that person instead, but it just went south.
Right. That's
But
true too. And you don't know the first person's intentions. I mean, they could have
yeah,
been good, but
exactly. So I was just really peeved that this seemed to be the nail in the coffin for my managers, and it's like, but I'm doing better. I'm kind of on this
right.
medication because of you guys.
Yeah, you're the reason I'm here. Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, but I think I needed it regardless. I have
Yeah.
been diagnosed with anxiety for a long time, and I did not realize the baseline that I was dealing with on a day-to-day basis until I was on the medication.
Whoa, no. See, that makes me wonder if I should go and, maybe chat with somebody because when I started working, teaching, when I started teaching, I started having a lot of anxiety issues. And I'm like, well, it could just be generalized anxiety, but it could also be that I have an anxiety disorder, and who knows until I ask.
Right. I think it's definitely worth asking and trying because I thought, like, I know I have anxiety. I know I've been diagnosed, but I think I have it really under control. I have coping mechanisms and I'm handling it well. I'm getting my stuff done day to day. I'm not like stuck in my bed like I
Yeah.
have been in the past and stuff like that. Like, I thought I had it handled. And I thought it wasn't that bad, but Minna kept on urging me to like say something about it and just to give it a try. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'll say something. And she's started me, and slowly I was on 5 milligrams and now I'm on 10, and I think I'm about to get upped again.
Yeah.
And I did not realize the like background noise level of anxiety that I was just dealing with and ignoring day to day until I started taking the medication.
Right. Well, your brain just kind of blocks out a lot of it. And that's what I realized a lot when I was teaching is that my stress level when I'm in my day-to-day job life versus when I'm on summer break, my stress level during the school year is so high compared to over the summer. And not to say that like my stress levels are still pretty high in general, which is what kind of caused me to think that maybe there is more background there than what I've really kind of noticed for myself. But during the year, especially, I could probably use a
Right.
little bit of help, or maybe just talking to somebody to get better coping mechanisms because mine are not
That's
that good.
right. Yeah. It's definitely always an option too. But if I may vouch for anxiety medication, um, it's a lot cheaper than therapy.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
The first bottle that I picked up, I maybe had a copay of like $3, but the second one with the up dosage, it was completely covered. I don't know why this one was covered,
hmm
but it was, and it was like, oh, cool. I don't have to pay for my
I
pills.
love when I don't have to pay for my medication.
But because I'm leaving my job, I'm trying to like hit up my doctor's office to be like, "Hey, I know you're going to want to like check in on this, but I'm going to have to change my health coverage at least
Yeah.
temporarily. So can we maybe get me in quickly here because I know I'm going to be due for this checkup like really soon anyways, to like
Yeah.
see if I need to get upped. So if I do and you approve it and you send that to the pharmacy, I can get that taken care of, and while I'm in this limbo, I at least still have my medication."
Yeah, yeah. I can't imagine being without insurance. I know, like, I've consistently been on some sort of insurance plan. It's just whether it's shitty or not.
Yeah, exactly.
No, the one I have now is pretty good. They cover most things. I mean, like, diabetic supplies are like thousands of dollars without insurance.
Hmm.
And I only pay like per, let's see, about every 3 months. It's like 250-ish. So it's not so bad.
Yeah, definitely could be worse.
Yes, could be way worse.
So, hope I can resolve that soon. I will definitely
Yeah, I
have
hope
some
so.
level of coverage. It's just I'm really scared of my current doctor not being covered because I love my doctor right now.
Right. I remember you talking about that. I don't remember if it was like maybe it was the podcast I was watching with you and
It could
Minna.
have been.
It probably was. But I remember like I've never found a doctor like that, and I'm like, this is like encouraging me to go find somebody that that I really like.
Well, the insurance that I'm under, I had like a search portal to try and help pick my PCP of choice. And there were filters that I could kind of use. And I can't remember what I used specifically, but I do remember tapping into this doctor and scrolling through and seeing like some sort of tag marker that said that she was LGBTQ plus like inclusive or something like
That's
that.
cool.
And I found that to be very consistent with the search results that I found online after the fact too.
Yeah.
And then when I actually had my first appointment with her, I found out that she was married to a woman. So I was like,
That's
oh, that
awesome.
explains everything.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, I really don't believe.
Speaking of marrying women,
Speaking of other questions, I was going to ask you, how's the wedding planning going?
so stressed.
Yeah, you only have like 2 months.
Yeah, not even anymore. We've got, we're getting married on October 12th, so we are rapidly approaching.
Oh, just a smidge under 2 months now. Oh,
Yeah,
that's so
yeah.
scary.
We've been doing a lot of work. We have most of our like decorations and stuff planned, and we started like down payments on like our florals. My dress is paid off. We're looking at renting a suit for him, and then pretty much everything else. Like I think the only thing left to have a conversation about is the DJ. And we're doing that this week at some point, and then really from there we're pretty much set besides finishing paying for stuff and practicing our first dance. And then and I gotta ask my dad what song he wants for father daughter dance, but other than that we're pretty much set.
Oh, that's so exciting. I want to
I'm so
take dance
excited.
lessons so bad for our first
Yeah.
dance.
Do you have a date picked yet?
We do have a date picked, and in fact, we just sent out our save the dates, I think, on
Ooh.
Monday, so you might be expecting something in the mail soon.
I'll just peek in my little mailbox and I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm so excited for you.
Yeah, and did you say you did pick your dress?
Yes, we both have our
Yeah.
dresses picked already.
Oh,
That was actually like the first thing that we did.
that's basically the first thing I did too. I was like, okay, I gotta Google black wedding dresses because nowhere around me sells that.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of know the answer, but I would love to have you share why you picked the dress that you did.
Yeah. So about a year ago, I really decided that my fashion style was much different than um kind of like my room setup style, if that makes sense. So like my room style is very like pink and pastels and like um cutesy things, and then my style is very alternative goth heavy.
Yeah.
Almost like trad goth levels now. So I ended up picking a black dress because I was really like, I really know that I want to do some sort of like romantic goth style makeup and hair. And that's the other thing we just scheduled was getting my hair done. So I picked
Yay!
yeah, I was so excited for that. I ended up picking I think they call it like calico cat hair. It's like orange and blonde and brown. It's
Oh
pretty.
wow.
It's so pretty. I'm so
So you're
excited.
gonna have your hair dyed soon?
I am. So I've been dyeing my hair myself for, I mean, many years since I was in high
Yeah,
school. I've never had somebody do it, so I decided that for the wedding I was gonna go get it professionally done, and from here on out, if I want my hair done, that's just how I'm gonna do it. But it's
that's awesome.
expensive.
It
Yeah.
is.
Um, so no, I'm excited for that. And then we have him also booked for day of styling, which I wasn't gonna do originally. I was gonna do my own hair, and then I was like, well, if I get it colored through him and he does the styling, then I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
So I'm pumped for that.
We are seeing our regular hairstylist this coming weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to see how she feels about like the distance to the venue and like what her rates might be and see if she
Yeah.
might be our stylist for the weekend. Um, because she just does great work and I know she does weddings, but she is in Maine, so it
Oh,
would be quite the trip.
yeah.
But she is also Minna's mother's hairstylist and they have
Oh,
been for
yeah.
some time and almost just kind of feels like a family friend at this point.
Yeah.
So, it'd just be nice to have her there regardless. And yeah, gonna dig into that a little bit. I kind of know what Minna wants to do for their hair, and I don't think they know that I kind of know. And
Did you
it's
like see each other's plans for this kind of stuff, or are you like keeping it separate?
so we're trying to keep these things separate because we
Mm-hmm.
weren't able to keep our dresses like a secret because we really
Oh,
wanted to
yeah.
make sure that our dresses balanced each other out
Yeah.
and there wasn't too much clashing going on or anything like
Yeah.
that. But we both like really fell in love with dresses that just naturally complemented each other, so it worked out great.
That's so good.
Yeah. Um but we want to kind of keep like hair and makeup and just let any of the embellishments kind of like a secret so we kind of get to surprise each other a little bit still.
Yeah.
But
That's
I
so cool.
had a hair idea and I communicated it to my maid of honor, and thank God I did, because then Minna sent the same inspo video to my maid of honor,
No.
and I was like, oh, bestie, you gotta redirect her just a little
Just
bit.
a
We
little
can't
bit.
show up with the same exact hair.
Listen, you could just twin it.
I think it's going in a direction that will work again to complement each other really well.
Yeah.
Where this like embellishment involved with it will be like cute and kind of matchy. But Minna's always talked about, and this is partially why Minna's growing out their hair right now, about
Mm-hmm.
wanting to almost have like a Viking hairstyle where there's lots of braids
Ooh.
involved and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, you gotta push Minna in that direction and remind Minna that they want to do this thing, so our hair is at
Yeah.
least a little bit different.
At least a little different. Yeah.
So
See,
very
that I don't have to
excited.
worry about that. I mean, I could shave my head and we could match, but like,
That would be very funny.
can you imagine?
I'm almost considering asking my dad to shave a bunch of my hair off after the ceremony before the reception because
Ooh,
he's a licensed barber.
yeah.
And I had him do my hair once when my hair was really short and he did a great job with it. Um, but I've been growing my hair out for the ceremony because I really want like to do fun stuff with my hair and I was talking about this with my hair person because she was like, "Why you? I've had so many people come in here and say that they're growing their hair out for their wedding, but then they hate it, and then they look at their photos and they don't feel like themselves." And I was like,
Oh, yeah.
"Yeah, well, I mean, the hard part about growing out my hair is that I don't like the like in the middle length. That doesn't
Yeah.
feel like me, but the
Right.
really long and the really short both feel like me.
Yeah.
So
See,
I
that's
got
how I
past
feel.
that in the middle, so I'm happy again. I was hating my hair for a while, but
That's like
I've
mine right
also been
now.
craving the short hair again,
Oh,
but I
I
don't want to
know.
give up all this hard work.
It's so tricky because it takes so long to grow your hair out. Like I had thought about going short again for the wedding, but right now I have the whole underside of my head shaved. So I was like, well, if I go short, then I don't have anything like to play with. So I figured I'll leave it
Yeah.
like the shoulder length and then I can always chop it after if I feel like it.
Yeah, which I think would be why it would be such a fun statement to have my dad cut my hair right
Yeah.
before the reception, and it's like, "Hi, bitches, I have short hair again." But that's
Are
also
you
just like
gonna
so risky. That's so much
Oh, I
pressure to put
oh,
on my dad.
right, and to get it right, are you gonna have like a different reception outfit or are you gonna have like your wedding dress the whole time?
So my wedding dress is kind of a convertible wedding
Mhm.
dress where I have this really beautiful pantsuit with a skirt
Ooh.
overlay. So I'm gonna have the skirt on for the ceremony, but take it off for the reception.
So exciting.
Yeah, it was a dream dress that I found a while ago. So it is like a few years old at this point, and it was
Mhm.
really hard to track down. There was only one shop that I could get to get their hands on like a sample so I
Yeah.
could try it on. Then they sent this sample and it was like a size 6 or something. It was
Oh
so
no.
teeny tiny. But she had
Yeah.
other pantsuits in the shop and I tried those on and I was really happy in them. And then she was like our stylist, she was like freaking out and like was just trying to figure out how to like let me have my moment, and I was like, we don't have to freak out right now.
It's
The skirt
okay. It's
comes off
okay.
of this. Do you have anything in the shop that has the same neckline as this, and we'll put the skirt over it so I can like imagine it? And she was
Yeah.
like, yes, hold on. So that's how I had my moment in the shop where I say yes to the dress and everything.
That's so
So
cool.
it wasn't even the dress yet, and it's going to come in at the end of this month, and Minna's will be
Ooh.
coming in mid-September, so we'll be doing our
Shortly.
first fitting soon.
That's so exciting. Oh, I love
Yeah.
that.
I'm excited to actually try on my dress.
I don't blame you. Yeah, to get it in the right size and everything, or at least as close as possible.
Yeah. So nervous.
No, I don't blame you. That was how I felt. We had ordered mine. I ended up having it custom made because there wasn't a lot of, surprisingly, there wasn't a lot of like black or even like alternative colored wedding dresses, even online.
Oh,
So we
wow.
custom ordered it from a costume. She does like costume dresses, and I was like, well, can you do like wedding dress style? And she said, yeah. So we ended up doing that, and I waited and waited and waited and waited. Finally came in. I was like so glad that it fit.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess if you do like Disney princess costume dresses, that gets really close to
Yes.
being wedding
Oh,
dress.
pretty close. And that's pretty much what she does. She does that in like some Renaissance style. So mine was
Oh,
actually
yeah.
based off of like, funny enough, I think mine was based off of Belle's dress and just like in black with stars.
Oh, that's so good. I kind of see
Yeah.
it now.
It's pretty similar. I think the sleeves were really the biggest difference. I was positive that I wanted sleeves. And so we had sleeves put on it.
Yeah. I'm surprisingly going sleeveless, and I thought that was like not going to happen. And I guess I kind of have a sleeve, but it's like a cap sleeve that hangs
Yeah.
and drapes. So it's almost actually what you have for sleeves on your model
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. So it's a sort of sleeve.
Yeah, it's just I can be really self-conscious about my shoulders.
Oh,
So
same.
that's kind of why I wanted sleeves. So to imagine myself picking a sleeve so minimal was almost
Right.
surprising.
Well, sometimes it's nice to go out of your comfort zone for stuff like this because sometimes you end up finding stuff that you really didn't think you'd like.
Yeah, oh my God, my consultant, she was like, "You need to try this dress on." And I'm like looking at her, I'm like, "You are crazy. This is ugly, but I'll put it on for you because you've been the sweetest."
Hmm.
And I put it on and I go out there and I'm like, "I don't hate it. What the hell?" This is
Yeah,
actually kind of nice. What is this?
that's so funny.
Oh.
Yeah,
And it
no.
was almost hard to say no to some of those dresses, but they were so
Right.
different than what I wanted.
Right. Well, and then if you have to have like a budget or anything like that plays a role on top of everything else.
My God, everything in this shop was like under 2K though, and I
That's
think
so
the most
nice.
expensive dress Minna actually tried it on was like I think 2,500 and that was the most
Hmm.
expensive dress in the whole store.
Wow.
Yeah. It was gorgeous, but as soon as our consultant was like, "That's the most expensive dress in the store," Minna was like, "Get it off me right now."
No, I don't blame you. Mine was about 15, I think, but I kind of expected that with it being custom made, and we had budgeted for something like that, so it
Right.
was pretty good.
Yeah, I think we were just under that, and ours aren't custom.
That well, wedding dresses in general are just expensive,
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
but they're fun. So they're worth it.
I'm so excited.
Oh, I
And
bet.
my pantsuit is definitely going to be something that is very wearable for like anniversaries and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I saw that your top is detachable.
Yeah, so it's two pieces. It's the skirt and the top. Actually, it's three pieces because it's the skirt, top, and then there's like a sash that kind of goes around the top. So I
Ooh.
figured I can rewear the top for anniversaries, or if I really want to, I can wear the whole thing for like Renaissance festivals because that's kind of what we do a
Yeah.
ton of.
That's awesome. Love that.
Yeah, I thought I that was really like one of my major factors in picking that was how rewearable will this be?
Is there something that you're really looking forward to on your wedding day?
Um, that's a good question. I think for me, I'm probably most excited for the reception half of our wedding, just because I'm not much of like a ceremony person. I never really have been. I think it'll be fun, but it's just not really me. But the reception I think will be a lot of fun because we're gonna have like all of our friends and I'll actually be able to interact with people and hopefully not feel weird because when you have that many people that are there for you, I feel like it could get
Right.
really awkward.
Yeah,
But it should be fun.
absolutely. Oh, I'm so excited to see your wedding. Oh my
Oh,
God.
I'm so looking forward to it. And really, with it not being that far away, I'm nervous, but also I think once we get some more stuff paid off, I won't feel so nervous. We've still got to
Right.
make like our arbor and things like that, but that can all be done in September and be ready.
Right. We
What about
wanna
you? Do you have?
we wanna make like our photo op wall. We
Oh,
were originally going to pay the venue for their little photo booth thing that they have.
mm-hmm.
But I think we're going to ask them to take that out of the package, and I don't think they can refund us for that or take that out of the total, but that means we can use that money for like late night snacks
Yeah,
or a sparkler moment, whatever we want to invest that into.
right.
And we're excited to do that because I I like the idea of the photo booth because I like the idea of people being able to go home with physical media,
Yeah.
but I am not crazy about all of the weird cardboard props that you hold up to your face.
Yeah, that was never my thing either.
They're kind of tacky.
A little bit.
So we're coming up with our own photo wall where I already bought like the greenery squares that we're gonna zip tie together.
That's
And
cute.
we've been crocheting wisteria that's gonna hang
Oh,
over the top. And we'll put that on a wall and have all these Polaroid cameras
yeah.
because Minna owns one, I own one, my sister has one, my stepmom has one. I think at least two of our bridesmaids, if not all four of them, um, have them as well. And it's like, okay, everybody bring your cameras. I'll buy a fuck ton
Right.
of the
Film.
yeah, and then people get their pictures. People can leave behind pictures. My maid of honor
Yeah.
bought like a Polaroid photo album so people can stick their pictures in
Oh,
that way as a guest book
that's
instead.
so fun.
Yeah, because I'm not crazy about the more traditional guest book where it almost feels a little bit yearbook-esque.
Right. That's what we're trying to decide too, is if we're gonna do a guest book or how we're gonna do a guest book. Because I'm the
Yeah.
same way. I don't love the yearbook style.
Yeah, it's just it feels like I'm too old to do something like that.
Well, exactly. It feels very high school.
Yes, I want some sort of sentiment of knowing that you were there, but if we're going to do something, I think this is much cuter, but even if
Yeah.
if we were to like do no guest book at all, I would have been plenty happy making sure that everybody gets in front of the photographer at one point just to know
Oh,
that you
yeah.
were there sort of thing. That's all I need.
Right. And it just feels like, so like the Polaroids are a whole different story because you keep that as like a photo album. But I feel like for me, I would end up not being able to keep track of like a written yearbook style thing. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm just not crazy about them. I've seen them done and they just don't feel personal enough and I don't know. I think they're kind of weird.
Yeah, they're a little odd.
Like they're fine. It doesn't necessarily like feel culty like some wedding traditions do.
Yeah.
But it just feels like a waste of time and energy and coordination because there are so many weddings where people talk about post wedding like, oh, people didn't see the guest book so they didn't sign it, we didn't have good enough
Hmm.
signage, people didn't know that it was there. I think this is going to be harder to avoid.
Right. Well, because I mean, it's a giant photo wall.
I hope people get the point.
I would think so.
But very, very, very excited for that piece. And I'm
Yeah,
excited
I
for
don't
the
blame you.
food.
Oh, yeah. Did you pick out food?
We haven't yet. So the venue includes like the catering, the DJ. They include almost everything for us, which is such a blessing.
Yeah.
But because they're so used to doing this and having so many weddings and stuff like that, they take almost like semesters of brides and grooms and whomever where they're like, all of you guys have your weddings in the next so many months, come on over, we're all gonna do a big tasting together. So
Ooh.
they get to like prepare a reasonable amount of food where we're all tasting and we all have our weddings coming up, and it kind of makes sense waste wise, so you're not
Right.
making all of these weird tiny portions and wasting food for a singular couple to come by.
Yeah, exactly.
But that isn't going to be until like 6 months before the wedding, so I
Mm.
think we are going to do ours in like January or February.
Yeah.
So we'll do our tasting and pick our menu then.
No, I don't blame you. And that is a great way to do that. I hadn't even thought of, if you're going to a place that has a lot of weddings coming up to just do it all as a group.
Yeah.
Such a good idea.
They've thought of everything, dude. I'm so glad that I have this all-inclusive venue that is taking care of most of my worries.
Right. Well, if you don't have to do all of the like nitty-gritty planning, that's always nice.
Yeah. And some people give the company a bit of flack because they call them almost like copy paste weddings because of like the business model that they have where it's just
Yeah.
kind of cookie cutter, but it's also like weddings can kind of be cookie
I
cutter.
was gonna say, I feel like weddings for the most part are kind of cookie cutter because there's only so many things that you can do
Yeah,
that are
and it's like
different.
they will do upcharges for like different linen colors and stuff like that, and I don't
Yeah.
want to pay for that, but like there are ways to personalize it and there's enough choices to be made, and I don't know, letting the venue that knows what they're doing do what they do and have their
Yeah.
people take care of everything just feels like I'm going to really be taken care of,
Oh
where
yeah.
they are going to keep on top of the timeline. Like, I could have opted to hire a different DJ if I wanted to,
Yep.
but if I'm hiring the DJ that's already with them, he's already going to be so much familiar with the venue and the flow of things that are there and the timeline deadlines and familiar with like the security guys there and stuff like that and just like
Yeah, exactly.
know how everything's going to run, so why wouldn't I want that?
Yeah, well, I don't blame you at all there. I think so our venue was only like $200 or not even. I think it was like 100 and something, but then the only way to get that venue is to also have the catering through them, which makes sense. So we did
Catering is
that and it ended up being
expensive.
like 2 grand, but it's not
Yeah.
bad.
So much better than our wedding total.
Overall, our entire wedding, like excluding my dress, we haven't spent more. Actually, I think our overall budget, like including everything, is like 5 grand. That was like it, but that was kind of the plan from the start.
I wish. God damn.
Weddings are so expensive.
I didn't think I was gonna go this expensive, but I somehow got convinced of so much already.
There's nothing wrong with that if it's what you want. I listen, if we had started planning earlier, we probably would have picked a more expensive venue, but everything that we looked at was it didn't include like anything else and starting price was like 12 grand and we were like, well, we could do that if it had some other stuff included, but to have
Yeah.
nothing.
We were looking at all sorts of venues that were kind of like that, where they were so expensive and felt like they included nothing, but then we were also
Yeah.
finding the more budget-friendly things, but they also included nothing, and it's like I'm gonna have to think about chair rentals and
Right.
the table setting rentals and the linen rentals and the tent rental because we want to have part of it outside, and it was
Yeah.
getting so overwhelming to think of all of the rentals we were going to do, and it's like, how do we keep track of the budget at that point? Because if we say
Right, you
yes to the
can't.
venue and then we have to figure out the tent and the linens and all that stuff, and there's only so many different people in the area,
Mhm.
so you're just kind of at their whim. You already said yes to the venue, so you have to work with these people, and it just,
Right.
I was so scared of it snowballing into something that I was not going to be able to predict, and it was going to get way too expensive.
Right, well, that's the other issue too. Like we did get really lucky that, the 2 grand with the venue and the food was a good price. And then like our florals, like my bouquet was gifted to me. And there's a little bit of a funny story behind that. So the woman doing my florals, her son was my first like he not like first official boyfriend, but first like long-term boyfriend. I dated him for 3 years, and she was like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna marry my son." I didn't end up marrying her son, obviously. And so, but she's still very much like family to me. So I went through
Oh,
her, and she gifted the bouquet, which was like one of the biggest expenses.
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was so sweet. And then we did buy like our venue does include linens and they offer black or white. So we were like, well, if you offer black. And then we've got like place settings that I ordered. And we found these really fun, like black and silver. They're like plastic plates, but they're heavy duty plastic. So I'm like, they should be fine. They'll be pretty.
That's exciting.
Yeah, we're almost there.
Wow. Ugh. I'm glad to not think about silverware and
Yeah,
plates
I
and
don't
all of
blame
that
you.
stuff.
Well,
That
it's
was
so nice
so
to not
scary
have
to
to
think
buy or
of.
rent. Yeah.
Yes. And one of those more DIY venues that we kind of fell in love with, he was like, "Oh, well, there was a wedding that happened recently where they rented a tent, but the wind was too bad, so we had to take down the tent and
Oh
it was
no.
raining, so everybody had to like hunker down under
Oh,
this like awning that they have on the building." And I was like, "I
yeah.
do not want to deal with that."
Yeah. No,
And
that's
so we
hard.
found a venue that has like our tent scenario, but the tent is like really big and heavy duty and it's actually
Mhm.
anchored to the building,
Oh,
so
nice.
nothing is taking that fucker down.
Yeah. So even if it rained or got like bad wind, that's so
hmm
nice.
I'm very excited to have my tent moment.
Yeah, well, that we had talked about doing a tent as well, and then we decided against it because of the time of year, and we were worried about,
Yeah,
sometimes you get snow in October in Maine.
true.
So,
Very true.
but I don't think that'll be the case. I just think that we could have had, like last year here, we had a really bad rain and windstorm, so we were trying to avoid that altogether.
It's hard to know. And even being outside worries me that it's going to be like sweltering that day, but the
Yeah,
tent should hopefully give people enough of a break where nobody feels like they're absolutely dying. The
right. Well,
ceremony
and
will
people just,
probably be a little warm, but
yeah,
we also are not like huge ceremony people, and we're like, this might be like 20, 30 minutes
that's
tops."
ours. Ours is gonna be like 20 or 30 minutes. No,
And
it'll
oh
be
my
quick.
God. Uh, you know Jay?
I think so, yes.
The one who hosts Yowie Mad Libs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 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 I do.
He might be our official.
Oh my goodness. That'll
I'm
be
very
so
excited.
good.
Yeah, because he knew both Minna and I before we found each other and started dating,
Hmm.
so he just has like a really good idea of us as people and
Yeah.
us as a couple too. So, and he's just a good public speaker, and I think he will balance the comedy while still like taking it seriously.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
Funny enough, I don't think we have an officiant yet because we're like, I don't know who to ask.
Yeah. Does Maine have a like an officiant licensing where they can do it just for like a day?
I think so. Yeah, I don't know what the price of it is, but I know we have something like that, and even I think even if they just got it done, I don't think it's that expensive.
Yeah.
For more than a day.
Because that's how we were able to kind of like convince Jay. It's like we looked into it, and in the state of Massachusetts, they do have this thing where you can be licensed for like a
Yeah,
singular ceremony on a single day.
that's so cool.
Yeah, and I think it was under $100 too.
That's not bad at all. No, that's a
I
pretty
think
good
that
deal.
shit's really cool to have somebody more personal do it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what we're looking into as well. Is we want somebody that's closer to us. It's just for us, like we've got two very different friend groups, and because he
Mm.
and I did not like grow up together or anything, I feel like we have some common friends. Like there's a few people that I'm like we could definitely ask them. They're just not really public speakers. So I'm like, I don't want
Yes.
to put them in that position.
That's what we were having trouble with until I think we were gearing up for PortCon and I was talking to Jay
Mhm.
and I was like, "Wait.
Wait a minute.
You do public speaking?"
You could do this. That's so funny.
Oh, so it's all coming together.
Yeah, it's so exciting when it starts, when it feels like it's finally piecing together.
I'm running out of things to do.
Well, I bet that because there's only so many things that you can do in certain time frames.
Yeah. And especially since we have to wait on this tasting, I'm so fucking excited to do this
Oh,
tasting, but we have to
bet.
wait.
I know. Well, it feels like you've got to wait a while.
Yeah. But I mean, we're over halfway through the year, so it realistically isn't that far away now.
No, it's really not. I mean, if your tasting is like January, February-ish, you don't really have
Yeah.
that far to go.
I just gotta keep on keeping myself distracted.
Right, well, keep yourself busy, think of decorations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Plans for invitation, because you're doing, I would assume, maybe a separate invitation, or no, is your save the date your invitation?
We're gonna do a separate
Mm-hmm.
invitation. So we went like a little budget friendly on the save the dates. I just printed with Canva.
Yeah,
And I
I
forgot to
love
put our
Canva.
QR codes on the back, and I was like, hee
Oops.
hee. So I created like a Word document and separated it into columns and put like 6 of them on a page. And I was like, I'm just gonna cut these out at home and I'll stick them into the envelope. It's just to save the date. It's not that serious. So
Yeah, I
all of
don't
our
blame
little
you
envelopes
there.
have the little slips in them because I had an oopsie.
Oops. That's
But
okay.
it
It
could have been a
happens.
more tacky oopsie. It was a
Oh,
simple
yeah.
one to fix.
Yeah, that's an easy fix.
Hope I spelled everything right.
Oh, that was my biggest concern.
Uh, but at first, Minna and I thought we wanted to have our colors be very strictly lavender purple and sage
Hmm.
green. And
Ooh.
we love those colors, but as we were looking at our bridesmaids and we have a bridesman and my sister who is non-binary.
Hmm.
um so like not everybody was going to be able to be in a dress, so we
Yeah.
want to kind of like even things out somehow. And then like this person really would want to be in this color and this one would really want to be in that color, and like how do
Hmm.
we make this look even? And we went, you know
Right.
what? Why don't I pitch to our group chat and say, like, everybody pick colors, just don't pick dark colors. Think wildflowers. And
Yeah.
I'll get the swatches in. I don't know if we'll actually do this, but I want to experiment with it and look at all the swatches next to each other and see if we can do this with just you guys' choices and we have you all in the same dress, because we were going to
Oh,
let
yeah.
everybody be in the same colors but different dresses.
Hmm.
But if we are going to do all different colors, we should be in the same dress. So there's some sort of
Yes.
unifying factor.
Right.
Um, so that's what we're going to do. Everybody picked colors that looked really great together, and I
Oh,
was like, this
good.
is really exciting. And so we're like throwing the purple and green out the window, and I've been seeing these TikToks of people thrifting vases and
Hmm.
doing their centerpieces with the flowers and all of these different thrifted pieces, and it's like, oh my god, that's so pretty and cute and colorful. And so um Minna's starting to get on board with me in that sort of vision too.
That's so, and I love thrifting wedding stuff.
Yes. So, everything that we kind of like planned at the very beginning of being engaged has kind of been thrown out the window at this
That's
point.
usually how that goes.
But I feel like I'm even more excited now because it kind of gives me another thing to do if I get to go into all these thrift stores and be like, ooh, I could put this on one of the
I could use
tables.
this. I'll have to send you, see if I can grab it. I'll send you our Pinterest board because I don't have a good way of explaining it. I
I
feel like,
almost need to like redo my Pinterest board now because it's all pink and green. Or not pink, purple.
yup, that is almost always like that's kind of what happened to us too. I ended up going not entirely different. Like we were originally gonna do um like a pink and black theme, and then we decided against that. And we ended up going with like dark purples, dark reds, black and gray, like um I can't even think of a good thing to compare it to. But we ended up picking quite a few different colors than what we had originally envisioned.
I am
It ends up
pulling this.
working out though.
Ooh. Yes. This is very fun.
I'm super excited for. And we kind of got the general vibes with the decorations that we grabbed. I still want to thrift a few things, and I have to decide if I'm gonna ask my hairstylist to like pin my hair up at all. I mean, I typically wear my hair up, and they've always suggested that, if you wear your hair up daily, you should wear it at least partially up, or if you wear it down, you should wear it down because, like you said, you might not end up feeling like yourself, and you kind of really want that on your wedding day.
Yeah.
I don't like hardly ever wear my hair down anymore.
I'm sending you a barrage of photos because
Ooh.
I have been saving them on my phone, and this is like starting to be the vision that we're going in the direction of
Yeah.
instead of being like so uniform.
Right. Well, and I do love the colors.
I'll have to send
So
you the
pretty.
TikTok. I'm almost, even though they're providing plain white linens for us and we get to
Mm-hmm.
choose colored napkins,
Hmm.
that's no extra cost. They have a handful of colors, and I think we're just gonna do sage green for the napkins because it'll almost be like a leafy, viney moment to
Yeah.
tie in where green is almost the neutral with all of the
Right, right.
wildflower colors.
That's so
Um,
pretty. These are so good. The
there's
lights
this
and stuff are pretty
TikTok.
too.
They,
And I've got like a
uh,
million and one things saved on TikTok as well.
this makes for great podcasting. Let me share
Listen,
these secret links that you guys don't
that
get
you
to
guys
see
can't
yet.
see.
But that is the TikTok that essentially like inspired me to do more thrifted things. And I think I almost want to like thrift tablecloths now because the way that she does it is so cute.
Oh yeah. I'm loving that she thrifted her shoes.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh, she got so lucky with those shoes.
yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I see what you mean. Like, and this is kind of the stuff that we had looked at too. It just was a tad bit harder to find stuff that was gonna match because we're going with such a specific. But there's no reason like we couldn't find cups or something. That was my biggest thing. I was like, maybe we can do some fun like cups or jars or something because we bought these cute little like apothecary label stickers. So
Mm,
we're gonna use those on either the cups or something, some sort of decoration. I don't know yet.
that'll be cute. And I'm
Yeah.
sure you could potentially try and look in thrift stores and see how lucky you might get and might just have to ditch the idea if it ends up going unlucky, but like
Right.
finding like different black lacy linens could
Oh
be a fun
yeah.
way to thrift where they just add texture but they go over the black ones that you already have.
Right. And that's like we got some we I tried to keep the fabrics minimal from Amazon because I knew that if I really had to buy more fabrics, I could go to like Walmart or I could go to like Goodwill because Goodwill has a ton of like table runner style stuff and they're almost always in like a multitude of colors, like so
Yes.
many.
Minna and I stopped by a Savers on our way to help my sister move into their first apartment.
Mhm.
And it was just like we need to drop off donations. It's on the way. And also going to the nail technician academy, I have a uniform where I need to wear black tops and
Yeah.
scrubs were really common in the salon that I will potentially get to work
Mhm.
in. So I was like, let's just get a bunch of black scrubs. So I'm ready for my uniform. So we're going
Yeah.
to beeline it over there and not look at all of the stuff I've been talking about thrifting, but on our way over
Mhm.
there, my eyes grazed over that like section where all of the linens were it could be like sheets for your bed, but it tablecloths, table runners, all that stuff, and
Mhm.
it's like, oh, I want to go in there right now.
It's hard when they're and like especially if you're going for a certain reason, it's hard to not stop
Ugh.
everywhere else.
We were on a mission, so we weren't late to my sister.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So we I was good. I just got my black scrubs and left. But it was very tempting, so I can try and get Minna on board with these silly little thrifted tablecloths.
You gotta get some patterns.
Yeah.
No, it is tricky, and it's hard to find balance, I think, sometimes. Like for me, I was trying to decide, like we're doing black linens, but then I also picked black table runners, but I aimed for more textured table runners rather
Mm,
than just like flat black. So I was like, then everything just starts to blend in, and that's no fun.
right. Right, right, right.
So I
I
picked a
think
lot
we're
of
gonna
lacy
have a
stuff.
bunch of round tables,
Ooh,
so
I think that's
runners
ours
aren't
too.
going to work too great.
I think it depends on what size you get. I chose ones that were much shorter than like they weren't
Okay.
necessarily for like rectangle table. I mean, I guess you could use them on rectangle tables. I just don't think that ours were long enough to stretch across one, and I can
Okay.
always chop them shorter.
True.
But yeah, I do agree with you. It is much harder to find table runners that look good on round tables. So I'm a little nervous for the ones I picked, but they're just like narrow rectangle-ish and they're on the shorter side. So I'm like, it should be fine.
Oh, it'll all come together. Both of
Yeah,
us
it
are going
will.
to have the most gorgeous weddings ever,
Oh, so
and
excited.
we have nothing to worry about.
No, nothing. No, I'm very excited.
I think. Oh, I do have one last question for you.
Yeah.
I know you're working on redesign stuff really slowly right now.
Yeah.
How did that start, I guess?
So I kind of decided that, like my current model feels very much me, but I wanted something that was not just a general so like there's a ton of moth VTubers and there's nothing wrong with that at all. I love having such a big community of all of the VTubers that are the same. And I tried to pick a moth that I didn't feel was as common. Like I'm kind of close to like Rosy Maple, but not quite. And then I decided that I really kind of just wanted to rebrand a little bit more even, and so I decided that, with like my switch to loving things that were more of like the gothic variety, I decided witchy vibes would maybe be kind of my thing, or more of my thing, because originally I had thought, well, maybe like magical girl like Madoka, but I don't always love pink everything, so I was like, okay, well, maybe like Homura. And we ended up going
Yeah.
very like dark witchy. Let me see if I can send you a sketch real quick. I got one sketch back. So, well, I technically got two sketches back. Um, but they're both. So, like, this first one that I've sent you is like the updated from the second one. So I have like two kind of obviously like I've got like two kind of outfits going there. One that's obviously like my streaming outfit, and then the other was just kind of for me because I don't really get to do a lot of that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
but she's very witchy. I really just was like, I want something that screams me and my personality, and I just felt like this was it. Plus, I just wanted to be more bug. I want to be creepy.
Yeah, no, this is so much fun. So it's quite a bit different than the PNG you've been putting on stream right
Yeah.
now. Is it
Mm-hmm.
going to be colored similarly to like you now, or more so the PNG you've been using, or
So it'll be. So I just sent you a third, which is basically the PNG that's on my stream with a little bit of like extra
oh,
color. It'll pretty much be what it is on like the PNG that I use right now, just with some extra accessories.
yeah. Oh, I love that. That's so exciting.
I'm literally so excited. I don't think I've ever been this excited for a model. I mean, I was super excited for this one. I was like unbelievably excited to be 2D. Because I never had the funds to be 2D. And now I'm looking at, like my 2.0 is probably gonna be expensive.
Yeah. Where I
But
don't think are you thinking about going to Sarah Hannah again?
I'm actually not, well, I say that I'm not, but I might. She is on my list of like maybe at least reaching out to. I know based off of what she has said in like her art style, she doesn't necessarily do bug parts. So like the
Okay.
legs that I've got or the extra arms and stuff, and it's where I really want to go like buggy. Um, I was worried that she maybe wouldn't do that, but she is on my list
Right.
of at least asking. Um, because I do like her art, and I love the art style for this current model. So I'm like, yeah, we'll at least ask.
Yeah. You look really great in her style.
Yeah, I mean, she always does a good job.
I liked working with her, and her price points are very good.
Yeah, they are.
But it's
Oh my
because
goodness.
she has worked and done so many models, so she has so many pre-made parts that she can just recolor for everyone
Mm-hmm.
and like kind of put you together like a doll where everybody's
Yeah.
unique and individual because everyone's got different combinations and then everybody's got unique parts that she still completely does from
Mm-hmm.
scratch. But that's how she can keep her price points so low is because
Right.
she's reusing some of them.
Right. When you've
Uh,
done that much, eventually you're gonna have something to build off of.
Yeah, I just wasn't crazy about her shading for white hair. It felt very flat, but some of
Yeah.
her colors are not like that at all, and that's why I fell in love with her. And I quickly
Yeah.
realized as I was commissioning all sorts of people for different work, that some people just kind of don't hit the mark for white hair,
Mm-hmm.
and so I decided to be a lot more picky this time around.
Yeah. Well, and your white hair on your model now is like beautiful. You did such a good job.
It's a huge part of why I chose my model artist
Mm-hmm.
because I saw that this was a consistent, fun little highlight shading piece that she
Yeah.
did for everybody who has white hair. And I think she even does it for black hair a lot of the
That's
time too.
awesome. See, I'd love to have, some sort of other shading. Like I love the shading on my current hair, but I do think I want something with a little bit more color next time.
Yeah, I get that now.
It's so tricky too just to decide. I mean, because there's so many talented artists. That's what I'm like running
Oh,
into is that I've reached out
yes,
to a few, but
absolutely.
it's so tricky. No, I'm excited. I think, I'm trying to get this in the process, but I'd like to stream with this model for at least a year just because, I do love her dearly and I'm like, I'm not quite ready to make this full swap yet.
That's totally understandable. I thought I was still going to have all this sentimental value, and I was telling my community, like, my old model isn't gone. I'm still probably going to use that other one, but
Hmm.
I have not.
It's hard
Like,
because sometimes you do end up falling in love with the new one, and that doesn't mean the old one's bad. It just means that, you upgraded a little bit at least.
yeah, I really fell in love with my redesign. Sorry. Anybody who misses my old model, sorry.
Well, I feel like, like knowing you in real life as well as a VTuber, this definitely feels more you.
Whenever somebody says that to me, I like tear up because I think this model is like so ethereal and like everything I aspire to be, but I don't like feel like I am that. Oh, I love the shit out of her. So whenever somebody's like, she suits you so well, you look like your VTuber, I'm like,
I love that.
I got that quite a bit at TwitchCon. I was like, I don't know what you guys are
Yeah.
talking about, but thank you.
That's my eventual goal. I want to go to TwitchCon so bad, but I want to cosplay my VTuber and this new 2.0 design. Uh,
Yeah, that'll be a
I
hard
don't
one
know.
to get together.
Yeah.
Not
Yep.
impossible, but hard.
Yeah. Well, especially like, when you start adding like extra arms and extra eyes and then
Yep,
different
yep.
style legs.
Uh, I purposefully made this one very cosplayable.
I don't blame you. I thought about doing that for this one. I was like, it's fine.
But now I'm really excited to make new outfits. I've
Yeah.
been brainstorming a lot. I just haven't been able to come to full fruition on any of them yet.
Yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah, I
Do
think
you have like
I'll
ideas?
I do. I have some really solid ideas, just like nothing really solid in an art form right
Yeah.
now. I am getting like some help with that, and I have like these half-done things. I just have a hard time doing full bodies all on my own.
Oh, I feel that pain.
So I've got pieces here and there, and I just need someone to help me put them all together.
Right. Well, it's fun because it's like a puzzle and they get to kind of, sometimes it's better to do it that way too because they might say, like this just needs a little bit more balance or this needs like length or something like that. Like that was my artist that we chose to do my ref sheet. They were wonderful because they were like, I love your sketch that you did. You just need to balance out the sides a little bit more. And they helped me do that with different accessories and clothing items and stuff. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome. I love that.
Oh, they're so sweet.
I think that's all I have for you today.
Yeah.
Where can everybody find you?
So Twitch is just Skitters the Moth, and it's pretty much the same across all platforms. So like I frequently use my Twitch and my Twitter, and then YouTube just gets my VODs.
Is there anything that you would like to plug? Do you have anything coming up?
Oh, oh, I do have. Okay, I just was like, oh, I love my 2D. But I did commission for funsies. I commissioned a relatively inexpensive 3D that's like the halfway step between this model and the upcoming 2D. And so I was like, we can
Nice.
do VR chat stuff, but that'll be in September.
Yeah. Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah. No,
Everybody
I'm super
follow
excited.
Skitters and wait for that. That's gonna be so
I
good.
know. No, I'm
It's
pumped
so
for that.
close now. Oh God,
It is. It's so fast.
we have a week and a half left of August. What the hell?
Oh, I know. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's oh, where's the time going?
I don't know. I feel like summer just kind of flew by this year.
It's already gone. It's so scary.
It is. Well, and like, we've got my wedding and then your wedding, and I'm like,
That's why
so
I
much
don't think
stuff.
TwitchCon will happen until 2026,
Well, that's
unfortunately.
pretty much for me too, because even though like we're getting married in October this year, that still pushes us back
Right.
probably another year because we've got to think about honeymoon stuff as well. Ugh.
Yep.
Ugh.
Yep. But it's gonna be worth it. It feels like so long to wait for 2026 to come so I can
It
finally reunite
does.
with everybody again.
Yeah. No, I get
Y'all need to
that.
come to Anime Boston. Everyone come over
Listen,
to the East Coast.
come hang out with us. Nobody comes over here.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I had
Yeah.
so much fun talking with
Oh, I
you.
had so much fun. Thank you.
Thank you.